Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of GMAT Success Talks. Every test taker has a unique approach to GMAT prep, and Kishore's story is especially fascinating. In just 2.5 months, he jumped from a 645 to a 705, and the most impressive part, he applied his data analytics skills to pinpoint areas with the highest ROI. He also optimized the study time by syncing with his body clock, which is interesting. So let's dive into these smart strategies with Kishore, an Indian engineer working in the US and aiming for the top business schools in the US. So, welcome, Kishore. Great to have you on the show. Could you please introduce yourself briefly for our viewers?
Hey, thank you, Selby. Actually, I would like to thank you for having me here, and obviously, thanks for GMAT Club as well.
Pleasure.
And thanks for the warm welcome. So yeah, as Selby highlighted, I'm Kishore. I wouldn't call myself an engineer. I did study engineering, and then I moved to data science. So I'm more of a data scientist now, working in US. Did my first 3 years in India, in Bangalore, and then moved to US for the next 3 years. And then yeah, I took the GMAT this April 17th to be exact, and here I am. I think there is something interesting to share, and hence this forum.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Kishore actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. That's how we connected, and that's how we realized, okay, we have to do this debrief. We have to share your story. So if anyone's watching and you've scored really well, reach out to us, and be part of this amazing show. Awesome. So let's, I guess, jump into your whole prep journey. So let's start with, I guess, the use of data analytics. So with your initial mock scores, how did you use your data skills to identify high impact areas?
Got it. So I think first I would like to correct a small thing. You mentioned that I started with a 645, which is true. I started with a 645. But if you look at my score journey, the second and third score kind of painted the real picture. I was like at 585 and 575. So I would take it as a lucky first attempt that gave me the 645, and it definitely gave me the confidence to pursue further. So it did its job well. And one thing since you asked about analytics specifically, I'm not sure how many of you here have heard about the concept multi-mix modeling. It's basically a marketing concept which is used to understand how well your investment across different channels perform, and where should you be investing in the future. So it's a very interesting concept. Maybe let me quickly share my screen. So ignore everything that you see around the chart, just focus on the chart. So the x-axis is the amount you spend on different channels, and the y-axis is the response you get from those channels, and then the different curves are basically how different channels perform or react. So in an ideal world, the larger you keep investing, the larger your return on investment should be. But that's not how it occurs in actual world, right? Like there are some channels where it's very slow start. It really cumulates the effect, and then there is an exponential curve, like you see in the blue line. And then there are some channels where they just have a slow steady slope when it comes to returns, like the pink line. So this is what I kind of tried to estimate for myself across different sections in the first 3 to 4 weeks of my preparation. So what I did is I spent 1 full week on each section, like verbal, quant, and DI. I spent 1 full week on each of these sections, and I kind of tried to do a rough estimate of how these lines and graph look for me. So the x-axis is the time spent, and the y-axis is the written on score. How much scores uplifted it contribute to. So from there, what I was able to understand is my quant is that magical blue line. It just kept giving good returns as I keep putting in more effort. My verbal is the yellow line. Whatever I do, even if I stand upside down, it was just stagnated between 82 to 84. And the pink line is more of my DI. It did give me returns, but not as crazy as quant, but it did definitely kept increasing as I put in more effort. So I was first able to assess this for myself. So this was within the first 1 month, and hence the next 1.5 month I was able to completely customize how I approach the exam and where I spend my time smartly.
Oh,
So
interesting.
this is something that I learned from work, but definitely helped me with my prep.
Interesting. And when did you start like creating these graphs and like actually analyzing the data? Was this when you started, like start with your entire prep, like your first mock that you gave, or this was after your, how many attempts, sorry, did you give? I didn't ask that.
So it's just one attempt,
One attempt.
but
Okay,
I took like I think around 10 to 12 mocks. I'm not sure, maybe in the screenshot as I shared, that should be visible. But yeah, I took one attempt. I started prepping on mid Feb, and I took the exam on mid April. So almost like 2.5 months if you count the first half of Feb as well, where I was like a little in dilemma. So but yeah, of course it's not like I understood this mmx right at day one. It was coincidental, because when I started I took a 645 and was like so happy that, oh, okay, my journey is much shorter, I can do it and all that, and then it hit a 585. So I was wondering what should I do differently, and that's the same time I was discussing this mmx for an actual marketing project with one of my clients, in my work. And then I saw, oh, this seems very similar, I should maybe cross learn from there.
yeah, no, for sure. Oh, okay, awesome. So like when you started doing this, like what let's, like, I guess, dive a bit deeper to this. Like, what metrics or patterns did you exactly look for when you were
Got
analyzing? Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, so I think one key thing that I try to do is I kept testing myself if my efforts are going in the right way. Because for me, I decided to do MBA, or I thought about this MBA world from Jan this year. So I don't have a lot of motivation like for 2 years, 3 years. I know people who like right after their UG they know they're going to do an MBA, right? So I was not that guy. Hence every step that I took, I was with a little bit of thought that, am I doing the right thing, is this what to be done? And I didn't take additional help as well. I was using materials from mba.com, GMAT club, and a ton of other open source information. So I had to keep testing myself. So things that I typically look for whenever I practice is, one, obviously, how many answers am I getting right out of the total questions I do. So accuracy is one. But then the other things I did is the time, the average time spent, that is definitely there. The third metric that I kept focusing on is how much questions, irrespective of I get right, how much question did I was I confident in getting it right. So you might still end up getting a question right, but you might have guessed your way through it. So that's not really a true win. So that I was able to keep track of. And the last metric is, though I got some questions right, did I get it right in the most optimal way? Because the right questions are actually the trap, or the right answers are actually the trap. Because if you get something wrong, you're going to spend time in it, you're going to deep dive, you're going to course correct. But the place where you can actually do a lot of optimization is the questions that you get right from the first try. Because that's where you don't look, but there is definitely something you can do there, maybe to get it quicker. If you solve a question in 2 minutes and that's right from first go, you're not going to look into it, right, naturally. But that's where you can actually make it further quicker. Maybe you can solve it in 1 minute. So that is also something that I kept tracking of. Am I solving the question right, but am I also solving it in the most optimal method?
Oh, okay. So you wanted to also check, like, maybe am I guessing, or like, do I actually know how to solve this? Like, and I think
Yeah,
that's a common problem with a lot of test takers. They think they know it, but do they truly know the answer? Like, if
yeah.
they had to explain the answer to you, half of them would be like, no. So,
And
okay,
also you might be able to explain it, but the question is also, am I doing it in the optimal way?
yeah.
Because I might able to answer it, I might able to explain it, but I might have done it in a brute force method. So
Mm,
can I do it smartly? Is there something that I can, like, if you have to multiply 7575 and 1234, you
mm,
don't have to multiply it all. You can just do 7500 into 1200, and most likely you will get the answer. So
mhm.
am I doing in that most optimal way? So that's another question to check for.
Interesting. So, like, on a day-to-day basis, though, like, how do you track all of this information? Like, does it take a lot of time to do it in this method that you did?
Yeah, so obviously, theoretically this is all great, but it does take a lot of time and effort to track. So to be true, I was not 100 percentage aligned or disciplined in tracking all this. Like, it's okay, here and there you may or you may not, but are you thinking in that mindset? Are you keeping track of these, and do you have the estimate? Do you have that graph in your head? That's the question. I am a data scientist, but of course I didn't like create 100% accurate data, and 100% clean data is a myth, like everyone in the field knows.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Um, I guess the other thing that, like, what I wanted to know was regarding like the fact that you also changed your prep time altogether. Naturally, when would you prepare? I guess you were working full time. You'd also have to prepare right
Mm.
after. So,
Yeah.
what was your process like? Your schedule?
So when I started preparing, I do a work where some days I have to start at like 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. Most of the days it's 7, some days it's 6:30, and I work until like 4 5. I'm in a consultant kind of scenario, a data science consultant. So I like when I started, I was like, okay, I will finish my work, I will come home, I will probably refresh to get out of the work mindset, and then I will sit like around 6, and then I do from 6 to 9. This is what I try to do every day. But who was I kidding? That was one of the biggest mistakes I did at the first 1 month. Definitely I could have used that time better, because most of the days, right, when you come back and you sit and go through the preparation after an entire day of 9 to 10 hours of work, your brain is tired. After a point I felt like I'm just checking the box of practicing every day, but am I being at my 100 percentage? No. So hence what I did is, luckily at the end of 1 month I also booked my exam, and I booked my exam and I was like, I decided to work backwards. So hence I booked my exam, and I know my exam is at 8 a.m. in the morning. So I know my brain has to be extremely active at that 8 a.m. mark. So what I did is, I started after finishing work, I started coming home and I sleep. I have, of course, refresh, have food, and then I sleep. So around 7 p.m. in the evening I hit bed, and I wake up at around 3 a.m., and then I practice from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I do 3 hours of practice there, and then I go with my day of work, and my daily chores and all those things. So since I moved this, one thing is, I know I'm going to take the exam at 8 a.m., so I made sure my brain is active at the right time. And the second thing, I reserve the freshest state of my mind to take to prepare for the exam. And even there, I think one mistake I did in the first few days is, you wake up in the morning, and when you brush, or when you just take your morning routine, or take your breakfast, you end up looking at your phone, right? I will turn on the wi-fi, and then I will get messages in Teams, I will get messages in Outlook, WhatsApp, Instagram, whatnot. So right away, that's going to take 30, 45 minutes of your time, and you're already distracted. You're distracted even before you get started. So I made sure I followed it disciplinedly, where I wake up, I don't touch like any social media applications or work related applications. I spend the 3 hours, and then I turn on Wi-Fi in my phone. So that is something that I like very religiously followed.
No, that's a quite smart. So that means you woke up every morning at 3 until like 6, maybe like just 3 hours of really intense prep, and then
Mm.
like head off to work. And
Yeah.
how long did it take for you to adjust your timings?
It was tough. There are days where I counted back from 100 to 0 so many times.
Gosh.
There would be a million sheep that I counted jumping across the fence. But it took some time, definitely, because the body cycle is not aligned. And it's been 5.5, 6 years since I put any effort to study so hard. So it did definitely take its time. But yeah, and I'm now still wondering. Retrospectively, also, it's a surprise to me that I was able to make that happen. But yeah, it paid off.
So would you suggest this type of timing strategy for any person who works full time? Like, or it's something that you felt like worked the best for you?
Yeah, I think it worked the best for me. There are multiple different factors that you have to understand, right? And again, whatever I'm saying today is something that worked for me. If you're a person like me, that would work for you. But
Mm-hmm.
it's best everyone understand themselves and customize the prep accordingly. If you're a full-time worker and you have your exam at 8 a.m. in the morning, you're bound to be active at that time. Then yeah, maybe this would work for you. And I think when booking exams as well, I was keen to ensure either I have it like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, or well in the evening, because that 2 or 1 in the afternoon is the time where your brain is like tired from the day but not yet active for the evening, right? So maybe if whatever I'm saying, you would also be a person who would feel the same way, then yeah, it may work for you.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on, I guess, to like your mocks. So tell me when you started, your initial score, how many mocks you took and which ones you took. So like let's go like that way. So when
Got it.
did you start with your initial mock?
So my first mock was first week of February. Yeah,
Okay.
that's when I took the first OG to set my baseline. I was like, okay, let me give the test. Let me see where I land. And if I'm at like 400, then no, maybe this is not what I should be doing. But
Mhm,
if it's something decent, maybe I can pursue it. So I took the first mock at around Feb first week, and I think I scored a 645. Definitely did its job to motivate me. And then the second and third mock, maybe 3 weeks, 3 weeks after that, two
mhm,
to three weeks, where I got like a 585, 575. That's where I thought, okay, this is not something that I can just do brute force. I can't just practice 1,000 questions and go take the exam. I need to really strategize this. So that's when I thought of, okay, how can I customize it for me myself? What are my strengths and weakness? And then obviously I tried cross learning from MMX.
correct.
So that was like the second, third, and then yeah, I took a bunch. I think I took around 10 to 12 different mocks. Initially, in the first 1.5 2 months, the mocks were at least 2 weeks apart from each other.
Mhm,
Sometimes you would see probably I take a mock and the score is like very bad, or I would have like left out 5 questions, so the score is not true reflection of where I am. So I
mhm,
might have taken like a mock within a week or within 4 days, but most probably I'm trying to aim like 2 weeks apart. I try to do that so that I have enough time to understand what went wrong in the mock and how can I learn and where should I spend time and customize and all that.
gotcha.
Whereas the last 2 weeks before the test, my mocks were very different. The purpose of the mock changed
Mhm,
because at that time, the mocks are not anymore to help me understand where I'm going wrong. It's not diagnostic in nature anymore. It's just practice at that point. So you can see me taking like mock tests every other day of sorts.
mhm,
So it's like one day I take mocks, next day I understand what went wrong, what is right, and maybe revise some concepts, and then the next day again a mock. I did this because, again, as I said, right, the last 2 weeks is not for diagnostic. It's more about just getting practice.
mhm,
Because a lot of scenarios, what we do is we try to give our best. We try to, function in a very ideal situation where, we have the right set of mind. We take the exam well. Our brain is not tired and all that. But you may not have such an ideal day on the day of exam. So I think a very funny story. Back in my school days, I had a math teacher. His name was Jay Vinod. We call him JV sir. And what JV sir used to do is when I prepared for my 12th board exam, he was like, "You need to take 3 tests in a day, and the last test is your minimum guarantee score." Because after tiring yourself out after 2 exams and still if you're able to score a 95 or a 99 percentage,
mhm.
then the first attempt on the day of exam you're definitely going to do much better than that, right?
Good to know.
So that I hated it when I did it in school. But now after like what 10 years, now I'm able to think maybe that had some logic. So what I used to do is every other day I used to take the exam. Again, it didn't necessarily tire me out because I didn't do, other than work and this, I didn't do pretty much anything. Because the last 3 weeks also, it's not like you have some new topic that you're going to learn the concepts or something, right? That is all done in the first 2 months.
Mhm,
So that definitely helped me, because, and I try to take as many tests as possible in the same time, like between 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So that was possible during weekends. Obviously, in weekdays, I took the test a little earlier, like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.
mhm,
So that definitely helped, and I was able to be good with that mindset, like, because one day in work you might have a very important call, so you're distracted by it. And funny story, I was like I am a high adrenaline person. So the night before my actual exam, I just wasn't able to sleep. I was so excited that, oh, this is going to happen the next day. And I actually had like 3 to 4 hours of sleep. So if you see, the very next day is my exam, and I slept just 3 hours the previous day. That's not an ideal condition.
mhm.
And obviously, I had to take 2 shots of coffee in the morning before I took the exam. So good that I took all these practice in the last 2 weeks. That definitely came in handy, when I have to appear for the exam in a not ideal scenario.
Correct. But your score kept improving, right? In those 2 weeks, like How many
Yeah.
times were you changing your method of practice? Like, what exactly did you do with your practice that made it go up?
Got it. Yeah. So like first I used to go with the top, like I'm, as I mentioned, the first 3 4 weeks was most about, learning the topics, going through one by one, practicing different separate questions through mba.com and through GMAT Club. So that is what it was in the first month. The second month, it was a little different. So what I did is I used to divide the topics into some core curriculums. Let's say, for example, in Quant, your percentage, ratios, decimals, fractions, these are all very similar in nature, right? Similarly, your permutation, combination, your probabilities, these are all very similar in nature. So I divided these into such logical, buckets of study, and each of that bucket, and at that point I already started hitting my barrier at 650. Now I had to break the barrier. So what I did is, okay, if I'm hitting the 650 barrier, people who understand the exam would definitely get that, which means I'm not able to, get majority of questions beyond 750 650 right. Which means I'm equal to a random guess beyond 650, right? So what I did is I will take these core subjects and I will do a set of 10 questions from each of these core subjects, just GMAT Club, nothing else. So I will just select these topics, and then I will select the difficulty to be between 600 to 650. I will take a set of 10 questions, and then I will measure how did I perform across the all four KPIs I mentioned earlier in the call. So if I do it well consecutively for two such sets, then that means I'm really doing well at that topic in that difficulty. So I will elevate my difficulty. Then I will go to 650 to 700, then to 700 to 750. And obviously I will have some thresholds, like between 600 to 650 I have to get 100 percentage right. Between 650 to 700 I was like, okay, if I get 80 to 90 percentage right, that's good. Between 700 to 750 or 800, it's like if I get 70 percentage right, I'm good enough. Because again, no one is aiming, at least I was not aiming for a 805 out of 805. So I was okay with that. So that is something that I did differently during that time, where I kind of chunked the topics, did relevant topics together, and then cleared one difficulty level before I go to the next, instead of randomly practicing across all the different difficulties. So this kind of helped me understand which subject at what level I fail. Because you might be good with permutation combinations in a very basic level, but when you hit the 650 mark, the questions might get really difficult and you might spend too much time. So maybe then I will go back and study again in the second 1 month of my preparation. I will go back to the books and I'll be like, okay, where am I really going wrong? And of course I go through all the discussions under each of the question, so that a lot of times the community is the best teacher, because people will teach you all kind of shortcuts in that community discussions. So that definitely pay off.
That's awesome. And I didn't ask, but the mocks that you took, how many in total did you take?
I think I took the 6 OG mocks.
Okay.
I purchased the two free and the four original, and
Hmm.
I think I took around 5 to 6 other free diagnostic tests. So I prepared with a budget, because MBA itself is a high investment,
Hmm.
stuff. So I don't want to do too much investment even before I clear my GMAT.
Yeah.
Hence, I bought the MBA.com the bundle, which was around I think $300 if I'm not
Hmm.
wrong, and then everything I used was free. So thanks to Princeton Review, Magoosh, Top 1%, all these folks for giving that free diagnostic test out there. And of course, these folks, some of them also have like some free material that they used to publish.
Hmm.
For me, the free diagnostic test was very much helpful.
Yeah.
So I took the 6 OG test at once, and I think in one of the videos also, maybe I think GMAT Club video, they mentioned that the OG test you can actually take it twice,
Yes.
because the questions repeat very less even when you take the second time.
Correct.
So I reserved the second attempt of the OG. If in case my first attempt doesn't go well, then I wanted that to help me in my second round. So hence I didn't retake the OG test. But yeah, 6 OGs plus around 5 to 6 of free diagnostic tests available out there.
That's good. Okay. Awesome. Um, so okay, that means in your last mock, so what was the final score before you took your test?
Yeah, so before I took my test in the OG 6, it was 655.
Okay.
uh, whereas in the actual last mock that I took, which was through I think Experts Global,
Mhm.
that was 735.
Okay. So like, and then your final score actually came somewhere in between the 705.
Yeah, it was 705. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, awesome. Other than this, of course, the mocks, let's also talk about like the resources you used and what exactly was your prep strategy like. You did talk about it, but like, how did you utilize your resources to the best of your
Got
uh,
it.
abilities?
So I think one thing I want to say is, at least for Indian folks with the Indian education curriculum, we
Yeah.
guys have tackled calculus and integration, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like the math or the DA, or to an extent the verbal as well. The concepts itself is not very different. You just have to really remember your roots.
Mhm.
Everything that we forgot since we started work, we have to remind ourselves back. So for me, I didn't require a lot of material from a concept perspective. Like I didn't need books, but I needed a lot of material from a question standpoint, from a mock standpoint, because the key thing here is to make sure you are back into that study mode, which you would have last done like 4 or 5 years back, and you also are customizing yourself to crack this specific test. So hence the questions and the material that helped me are the GMAT club, the different mocks I use, and MBA.com. So MBA.com gave practice questions, it gave the 4 additional mocks, and it also gave the guidebooks. So those guidebooks were like my reference material. So if I really feel like somewhere I'm not remembering some formulas, or like when it comes to permutation combination, I think there are some specific niche case conditions, right? Like
Yeah.
if the people are sitting in a table, you need to approach the formula a different way, and if it's I think if it's a mirror image, you do it differently. So for those things, I think that guide material definitely helped me. And
Mhm.
I think in GMAT club, I don't know where I clicked what came, but in GMAT club as well, it's such a huge forum. You guys should probably put a video on how to best use
We did, but I feel like not many have one because it's so recent. We uploaded recently, but yeah, I feel like we should push that out more. There's a
it.
lot on GMAT Club that you can use
Yeah.
for your prep.
Yeah, so I think some posts I went through, and in GMAT club, this there was one quant material that you guys have, which has like all the different examples, questions, and they have worked out few examples as well. So
Mhm.
that definitely helped, and I think that came in very handy for my permutation and combination. That was my weak part in quant as well, and that definitely did help me.
Mm.
Other than that, I think one material, thanks to technology, is GenAI. So, definitely ChatGPT helped me a lot when it came to verbal. I know my marks or my scores doesn't reflect that when I say about verbal, because it was stagnated between 82 to 84. But there's a definite difference between the answer and you think this answer is correct, right? So, that clarity of critical reasoning for me, reading comprehension was relatively easier. One thing I made sure about reading comprehension is, if I'm taking a reading comprehension in the last 5 minutes of the exam, I'm going to funk it, because in that last 5 minutes with the clock ticking, you don't have the patience to read through an entire
Correct.
passage and answer 3 relevant questions. So what I did is, when I take the exam as well, if you can also guess, right? Like if you're getting a bunch of critical reasoning questions all together, there is a big reading comprehension waiting at the end. So if that's the case, then I would like quickly skip a couple of critical reasoning questions, and I would go approach the reading comprehension, and then I get back to the critical reasoning.
Mhm.
So that was one strategy that helped me with verbal. And the other thing, coming back to thanking Chat GPT, so that was a huge favor for me, because I'm a very logical oriented, quant oriented person. Like
Yeah.
everyone, they have a balance between their IQ and EQ, right?
Mhm.
So my IQ is relatively more, my EQ is catching up to it. So that being said, when I approach verbal, I was looking for logic, and for critical reasoning, for the first good 1.5 months, I felt like this is just subjective. That person who wrote the question is just thinking differently than who I am. So it was very hard for me to crack it. But then what I did is, I used to copy paste the entire questions from GMAT club, and I used to put it in Chat GPT, and I will explicitly tell Chat GPT what, like most often I will test ChatGPT in my initial periods. I used to test ChatGPT. Let's see if at least ChatGPT gives the right answer. So I will ask ChatGPT to share its answer, and obviously it's going to get it right. And then I will tell, okay, now you hold your ground. Let me try to convince you something else is right, and you try to convince me that your answer is right. So, because most often in critical reasoning, you will narrow down to two options.
Yeah,
The other three, it's easy to omit them. But
correct.
between these two, there is some minute thing, someone they will say like most of or one of the, and that's going
Yeah.
to make a big difference. So, I was telling ChatGPT, you hold your ground and debate with me. So, me and ChatGPT, we used to have like long debates why our answers are correct. But the thing is, ChatGPT is able to talk logic back to me. Like it will try to defend it point so well that it will actually give me some logical reasons to see why it is right. So that way, that subjective feeling of the critical reasoning question started to slowly fade off, and I was able to see the logical sense behind those critical reasoning question, and that definitely gave me confidence in how I tackle those questions.
Interesting. You're one of the first people who said they used Gen AI to help with their verbal, and I would have never think that that's an interest. That's actually very interesting. Yeah, for anyone who's watching this, try that out and let us know. Like, does that work for you too? And if not, come back to the comments and ask, like, okay, how do you do this properly?
Hey, I am saying what worked for me. Don't bash me in the comments.
Yeah, just try it on your own free will. But other than this AI with verbal, like I think you also like said that mental math helped you build your quant intuition,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
So I would thank my flatmate for that. So what I did is, see, when it comes to DI, your graphs and tables are definitely going to take the time. There is no point in saying that, hey, I am going to somehow handle my graphs in 1.5 minutes. It was like impossible for me. So the smart thing to do is data sufficiency, because data sufficiency is where you can really save time. And I was already meeting like 2.5 minutes for data sufficiency questions, but I know I need to really get it done in 1.5 to 1.25 minutes in order to really save that time for the other difficult questions, so that I can ration it accordingly. So for data sufficiency, this happened in the last 3 weeks of my prep. I think this also contributed to an extent to break that barrier. So what I did is, data sufficiency, I try to keep my pen and paper aside, and I will try to answer it on my own in the head. And my flatmate used to just throw data sufficiency question amidst his video gaming sessions, and amidst his this is us Netflix. But yeah, so that helped a lot, where I just try to answer the question and we had it fun. The main key point is, this is a tiring preparation and you're doing it after a long time, so you have to do it in a very fun and likable way. So we will place like small bets. Okay, let's see, best of five, best of three, and I have to do it on mine, like no pen and paper. So that kind of helped me. Again, I'm not a person who know abacus or something, so do not constitute mental math equal to some abacus shortcuts. If you know it, that's great, that's going to help you, but I didn't know that. So but this helped me think fastly in the right way, because when you have the liberty of using a pen and paper, you are going to go to the brute force method, because that's easy. And your brain also optimizes for the cognitive load, right? Doing the brute force method is the least cognitive load method, because you have already done it. So you're going to, as I said earlier, if you want to do 7575 into 1234, if you have the liberty of pen and paper, you will do it all, because your brain has to do very little new processing at that point in time. Whereas if you don't have that liberty and you have to think through it, your brain will automatically start thinking, hey, what is the smartest and easiest way of trying to find the answer. So that definitely helped me to cut my brute force methods and think quicker, think smarter. So that helped me save time in data sufficiency, and then I scaled this method to solve some of my quant questions also quickly. Of course, not the heavy math ones, but there will be some fractional root questions where it's more about simplification, and some speed acceleration questions, which is more about, you can easily find the answer, you don't have to do the math. So such questions I was able to speed up by doing it mentally rather than using a hard pen and paper.
Okay, awesome. There was also, I think, one more strategy that you use with the way you analyzed how you took each question. I'm just trying to look for that. Yeah, like you said that you don't just aim to get the question right, you try multiple solving methods to find the best one. So could you just explain that strategy a bit more?
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned, right, the correct answers or the trap answers.
Mhm.
When you get it right, you need to definitely look into it, because you will often ignore and overcome it quickly. So when I got a question right, again, this also helped me break that 650 barrier that I was trying too hard to break. GMAT Club again, where I get an answer right. I definitely go through the discussions, because most often than not, there is definitely a smart way to find it. Specifically, again, if you're coming from India and you have solved like JE and stuff, you can understand and relate to what I'm saying, because in NCRT or in your state boards, you would have done the question and there is step mark. So you would always solve the questions in a more algorithmic, in a more step by step manner.
Mhm.
Whereas when it comes to JE exam, the key is to get it done quickly.
Mhm.
So that's a similar stake here. In your algorithmic view, in a step by step view, that's how you would solve it. You would get the answer right at the first go. But then definitely look for those forum chats and discussions under each question, where people are going to say they just looked into the answer and they already know which answer is right, because the four answers just doesn't make sense except the one which is right. So and specifically in quant and da, this was like crazy good for me, because verbal is, of course, that's how you do it. Whereas for data sufficiency, for your probability kind of questions, like it's a lot more easier than you think when you really try to understand how others have done it.
And also, like in the three sections, so of course you said quant was very easy for you, verbal you started mastering with AI, and for data insights, did you see any difficulty, or was that easy because of your background?
Okay. So I think data sufficiency, that's what I thought. I thought it's going to be easy because of my background. And conceptually, yeah, it was quite easy. It was not like it was very different or difficult. But from a timing standpoint, it definitely, made me work. That's the simplest way of putting it. Because I think when I started, I was able to answer only like 16 questions in DI.
Mhm.
Out of the 20 questions, 15 to 16. But whereas when I was writing my final exam, I was able to solve like 18 to 19 questions. So that's the key. And also the smart thing to do in DI is, if you are a person who's having struggle with time, I would say do not try to be with a motivation that, oh, I'm going to clear all the 20, I'm going to get it all right, I'm going to hit that 90 points. Be smart in how you plan for it. Again, try it out. If you can hit it 90, then obviously great. But what worked for me is that realization that, hey, I'm going to take 18 questions, but I'm going to spend time and make sure that 18 is right. And the last two, it's okay. It's okay if I don't get to go to them. If I get my 18 right, I'm at a way better score than what I want. So that's awesome. So that realization did help me. I frankly speaking, most of the time in DI put is for data sufficiency, graph tables. I did multiple practice, but again, the return on investment there was very minimal, because I know the concepts. It's just about time, and you don't know what graph you're gonna get, and which column in the you don't know which column in the table is going to be important, or how many different columns are gonna come. So the variations there is higher, and the reward or the return on investment is lower. Hence I focus more on data sufficiency, so that I have enough time to explore and get the other questions right.
Awesome. Okay, so I think, yeah, we covered your mocks, your prep strategy, and again, if there's anybody who has further questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Kishore here, if you have time, we'll respond to some of those comments on YouTube, or we'll give it a go. But going back to like the question I was trying to ask in terms of your timing strategy, you said that you had like a special 48-hour plan set up before your test day. What was it?
So I think the last 48 hours, I think I kind of had the reward before I won the race, because the last 48 hours, the speciality was that I didn't do much. uh, so I think that was key for me. because I took so many tests. As you can see, my mock, like you can see a lot of people and proper people who have done this for years. They would tell you don't take too many mocks. For me, it was a little different. I wanted to take a lot of mocks, and for me, it worked out. The last 2 days, the last 48 hours, I took off from my work. I wanted to ensure that I have, my peace in mind. I don't want to be worried and that day about some other call that's going to happen in the afternoon. So I took off, and I was away from, rigorous practice. But one thing that I made sure is, like, every 3 hours, some 15 minutes, I will just quickly solve some question. I will do some mental math, and not even GMAT oriented. It doesn't have to be a GMAT question. It could be just some random quant question like you would have seen any day. It could be just a multiplication that you have to mentally do. That's fine. But I just made sure, in the name of being leisurely, I just don't let my brain get out of its groove, because I have trained it so much to be, really do its best at that point in time. So I made sure that I kept having that touch with, making my brain used for solving such questions. That's one. And the next thing I see some of my friends do, and that didn't work out well for them, is also, when you decide to be free, when you decide to be leisurely, now you got 48 hours in your hand. What are you going to do with it? Because that's very critical. You know what you're not going to do with it, but what exactly are you going to do with it? Some people, they end up studying a book, and they end up studying that book for 8 hours, 10 hours. They finish an entire book within a day, and then at the night when they go to bed, these characters are going to be in their head, because they are fully engaged and they are into that world. Similarly, some people end up doing gaming for 8 to 10 hours. I love gaming, but 8 to 10 hours is going to give me a headache. And I'm sure if I'm doing Need for Speed, then in the night I'm going to hear sirens when I sleep. So, you have to be tactical about how you spend that 48 hours. So while you think what you're not going to do, also think what you're going to do. So I ensured every 2 hours, 3 hours, I do something different. So I enjoy the time, I'm relaxed, but at the same time I'm not getting too much into, something, and that's taking my attention and brain span. So I did some groceries, I did my meal prep for the week. I uh, you know i read a book, I played some games, I went out, I met with a couple of friends. So yeah, I just tried to do different things for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and just spare my time accordingly, so that my brain is not, getting completely distracted into something else.
So, but you managed to get a good amount of sleep, right, before your test? Did you?
Not the day before, as I mentioned, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
just sheer excitement. I hit the bed well in advance. I know this would happen, because
Mhm.
before my first trek I couldn't sleep properly, because before my first solo trip I couldn't sleep properly. So historically, I know my adrenaline kicks in and it doesn't let me sleep. So but I tried my best. I tried to hit the bed like at 7 p.m. the before day. I had a good meal, and and then I had less screen time before sleeping. So I did everything by the books, and still I wasn't able to sleep. But it's good. That's where I said, right, like, you don't prepare for the ideal day, prepare for a normal day with a little bit hiccups. So if your day of exam is an ideal day, then that's very great for you. But if it's not, you're still prepared for it. So that definitely came in handy.
Gotcha. All right. Now let's, I guess, talk about the exam day experience. So, of course, you were super excited. So I guess you didn't get that much of sleep. But how did it go? Like, was there any other hiccups that happened during your testing day, or no?
So there was a hiccup that happened, but after my exam finished, I will tell you about that. But before that, I think in that 48 hours window, another smart thing I did. This, some people might think this is just over preparation, but this definitely helped me out. Is I drove to the actual exam center, and I went and ensured where is the restroom, where is the water, and I talked to the person like, hey, is this just these two IDs? Is it good for you? And I'm taking the exam in US, but I'm from India, so do
Mm,
you really want me to bring my passport? So I had a chat with them. So I know before the day of exam, at least in the first 10 minutes on the day of exam, and I enter the hall, what's gonna look like, where should I go, whom should I talk, so that I don't have to think about all those on the day of my exam, and I can be just focused on giving the exam. So
mhm.
that definitely helped. And on the day of exam, yeah, it was 8 a.m. So I just woke up, I had my oats done the previous night, so I had that, and then I went and took the exam. Yeah, I think on the day of exam they just ask you for some questions on your ID, your name, birthday, and all that, and then they scanned it, thumbprint, facial pictures, all that. It was like a quick blur now. But that day it was like taking my minutes, and then they let you in. I think just be coordinated with the person there, and whatever you don't know, talk to them, ask them. Don't try to make assumptions on the day of exam. If you think, hey, is this the right thing to do, then ask it. Do not assess whether you should ask it or not. And yeah, but otherwise you just go in, and whenever you want to take a break or something, raise your hands, take the break. And the break as well, I think during my preparation, that is another thing. I tried out different breaks, like should I take the break after first subject, second subject. And I tried different combinations of, should it be quant da verbal, verbal da quant, and all that. And again, everywhere the way of looking at it is, if I do change it, is it improving? You just have to attribute your score rise to the right thing that you did, right?
Hmm.
So I just kept doing that, and I understood verbal, wherever I rate, I'm going to end up getting the same score. Whereas quant definitely helped. Between quant and da, I felt quant, there is a chance of me getting like 88, 89, 90. Whereas da, that was not the sin. Da was stuck between 80 to 85. So I was like, okay, let me take da second, quant first, and verbal third. And yeah, I did it all, and then I saw the screen, and it was 7:05. I was like jumping, not literally, internally. But then I raised my hands. The exam coordinator, they came in, they walked me out, and that was all great. I came out. I like took my car. I called my parents. I told them this is my score. Of course, my Indian parents are like, "Oh, you missed the center." So that's how they treated me. Like, you missed the 100%. That's how they treated me. But because then I looked at my phone, I'm getting a email saying that, hey, your score is held for admin review. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. What is that? Because before I took the exam, I never bothered about this. Like, I know some video suggestions came about admin review, but why would I even click and look what it is?
Yeah.
So I never expected that's gonna happen. And then I got this email. I was shaken because I already told my parents, first of all, explaining them what is GMAT, what is a percentile, what is the score, what does it mean. That was a very big struggle for me. I spent 30 minutes after the exam doing that. And then I had to, now I can't go and tell them that, hey, I'm held for an admin review. And I started looking at some videos, and they started telling that there is a chance that your score will be held, your score will be cancelled. And your brain starts to think too much, right? I'm thinking, oh, at that one moment I sat like this, or I was like this, maybe they thought I whispered something, I was not looking at the screen. And yeah, so that was a very tough next 72 hours to pass. I wrote an email to the GMAT admin team as well. I'm not sure, their website should tell the exact website, sorry, their exact Gmail ID or their mail ID. So I wrote them an email saying that, hey, I took the test, I got this admin test review, admin hold on the test scores. Is there something that you would like to me to share additionally? So I just offered them that, hey, I'm flexible, I'm there to guide you through the process if you need any information from mine. Sorry, not guide you through the process, more help in the evaluations if you need any additional information from my end. So I just made sure that I made them know about that. And they were very friendly. They replied back like within a day, saying that, hey, it's nothing to worry. If in the first attempt you're getting in a high score, there is a higher chance that you are picked randomly for this admin review, and this is just a normal process,
Okay.
you don't have to worry about it. But still, like, okay, you're saying that, but if you cancel, I can't come and question you, right? So but then yeah, I think within 3 days they released the scores, and the scores were out there. And I think on Sunday close to night, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something around that, the scores were released, and I was like super excited. But yeah, that 72 hours after the exam, because I already told to like 5 6 people in the family and close friends, I'm like, now should I go back and tell that, oh no, that was not the right score or what? So yeah, that 72 hours was crazy. But yeah, the GMAC team was very responsive, and they had the empathy to understand that it might be a normal process for them, but for the test takers it means something very big. So they had that empathy to understand it, and their responses were very accommodative. So thanks to that team as well, to make even that difficult process a little bit smoother.
No, that's awesome. Well, I mean, it's incredible though that you scored the 705. So again, like congratulations for that. But wow, like interesting journey. But I guess you don't want to do this again, right? No more GMAT.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
good enough. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
no. I think since, as I mentioned also, right, like I'm applying this year, and if I'm applying this year, I should be using the rest of the time to really research about the schools, talk to the alumni, put together the best application possible. So there is a lot more work to do, and I don't have years of knowledge researching about these things. So I have to research and go through all this. So that's the journey I'm in now.
Awesome. Well, I mean, again, congratulations. This was a lovely debrief. And like I said, for everyone who's watching this, if you have more questions, feel free to put them down below. And Kishore, is there a way that people can reach out to you directly if they
Yeah,
want?
I think maybe we can tag my GMAT Club ID,
Hmm.
and I'm very happy to help folks in GMAT Club. In fact, after my exam as well, I think I made a post, and around some 30, 40 folks reached out.
Oh,
I
wow.
try to help as many people as possible. For those I didn't respond, I will get to you guys. I'm so sorry. But for those I responded, I hope you guys are, continuing the prep and, getting there. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me in the GMAT Club forum. We will tag my GMAT Club ID, and you can always DM me, and I will be there to help and provide whatever tips you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Selby.